On this edition of Inside the Game, U.S. men's national team kick off their September friendlies this Saturday. Week 2, top 25s for D1 men and women are out. It's Mailbag Wednesday and the question of the day. All that and more coming up right now.
Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Well, good morning and happy Wednesday. It is Inside the Game number 150. I'm Jonathan Turner alongside Nate Wangler and our producer Ryan Glinsky, and we have a good show lined up for you here today. Before we dive into this show, I was mentioning this to both of you on the drive in this morning. I make it a habit of listening to TikTok, not watching TikTok on the way into work. I think that's an important delineation. Okay, I do not watch it. Maybe at a stoplight, but
I don't believe you.
Listen
Go ahead.
to TikTok on the way in, and this morning, I heard this commercial from Bob Lyland. Now I was playing it for both of you, kind of.
Still waiting for that punchline.
I was playing it for both of you, like a little bit, right? It just hit me. I was saying it because if you grew up in the Detroit, Ohio region, maybe even Indiana, you know about Cedar Point. Cedar Point, obviously a big area. They even have I think a Michigan Adventure is up somewhere. I think up north someplace. I've never been there, but there's obviously there's regionally these places. And it's funny. I asked both of you if you knew Bob Lyland was. Like no idea, no clue. Well, you grew up in Grand Rapids.
Nope.
Ryan, you grew up here locally, but Bob Lyland's been, I think, closed since like 1999. So I'm not sure exactly when it closed, but it was just a very interesting drive-in hearing that commercial where they're saying we have rides for the teens. It's just like it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like I love how they put the word "the" in front of it, like the teens. It's like almost like it reminds me of the moment in Social Network with Justin Timberlake where he's like, remove the just Facebook. It's like remove the. All right, it's anyways. Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing today?
Yeah, I don't know how the show started today. I really don't know what's going on, but we're having fun. I do know I have heard of Bob Island. So we have my family on the fridge. We get a magnet of wherever we visit, and there is a Boblo Island magnet on the fridge. So I have heard of it. Don't know anything about it besides it being a magnet on our fridge. So, yeah.
All I know about is isn't it Belle Isle that has that like treacherous slide?
Yes.
Have they taken that down yet? The one that like launches you in the air that like was just horribly designed.
I don't think so. I think
did they take it down?
No, I believe it's still there. I'd have to ask my dad. He'd probably know way more than I do. But Belle Isle is going over a ton of renovations because it's really old and worn down.
It's old, yeah. But at one point they had a slide where literally you went down and like I think the first little bump, like it literally like launched you up in the air and then you landed back on the metal and then you went off another jump and then the same exact thing. It was it was treacherous. So I do know about Belle Isle and their treacherous slide. I actually never got to try it, but Boblo Island is not in my. I had no idea, no clue.
Well, we do have a great show lined up for you this morning. We're going to talk about the September friendlies that kick off here this Saturday for the U.S. men's national team. We will dive into the top 25 for both men and women Division I NCAA rankings. Those are brought to you by United Soccer Coaches. And we'll have some mailbag here today. We've had a lot of comments coming through on TikTok and YouTube over the last 2 weeks. We want to dive into a lot of those comments.
I wonder why.
I wonder why, right, Ryan? As he's chiming in over, wonder why. It's a great question. I don't know why. But yeah, we are live right now also on TikTok live this morning. We'll try and start to do that on a more regular basis as well. Before we dive into that, though, we did launch our all sports channel here this weekend, Sports Nation with a Z.
Woo!
We talked about that yesterday a little bit. 15 hockey games, the Peak Performance Prep Hockey League out of Burrsville, Rhode Island. I was just doing the math. 117 total goals scored over 15 games. Now, if that's an indication of poor goalkeeping or unbelievable shooting, I don't know which one we should go with. But I think if you ask the league, probably unbelievable shooting.
I would say that
it's a combination of both most times.
It was very fast paced. It was a lot of shots, so eventually a lot of them are going to go in.
Yep,
a lot of shots.
Breakneck speed. Goalies are still developing. It's a developmental league. It happens. But I never actually got to see any of the games. Ryan, you were on a lot of them, and you guys got a lot of good viewership for that too. It's crazy how much the club level, especially in hockey. I mean, you get a lot of attention for school and high school and NCAA, but man, the club level is popular. But yeah, it's always a mix of both. It might be good shooting, but I'm guessing the goalies were not on their game as well.
Well, I mean, Tranquata had 38 saves in one game. I mean, so that seems, especially in an 18-minute period, that seems like that's a lot of shots to save. I think he also let 10 in that game, so we actually saw 48. 48 shots in the game, which is pretty good. So it was good hockey. If you want to learn more about Sports Nation, all you got to do is go to Sports with a Z Nation.tv. That's Sports with a Z Nation.tv, and you can check that out. All those hockey games, all the highlights for those games are available on our Roku channel at sportsnation.tv. Coming up here in our first segment here on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about some breaking news here related to the National Soccer Network. We'll also dive into the U.S. men's national team and their friendlies coming up here this Saturday, the first one against Republic of Korea. We'll talk about that and more on the other side of the break. It's episode 150 of Inside the Game.
Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins NLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game. Jonathan Turner, Nate Wangler, Ryan Glinsky. We're about to talk about the U.S. men's national team and their preview their matchups coming up here this weekend and next week. Before we do that, though, something that we've talked about our viewership and how our viewership has increased, not only for this show, but our network as a whole. And, going back and looking at our numbers over the last 6 months, we noticed a huge trend which started in really since June, July. And so when I looked at those numbers compared to our Roku channel, just put this in perspective, our National Soccer Network Roku channel right now has already had over 1,700 views today alone, right? Already today. We average between 2,300 and around 3,000 views a day on our Roku TV channel. And now there aren't any new games on there, right? So it's not like we haven't really had a whole bunch of new games come into the environment since the end of our season on August 1st is when most of our season kind of came to an end. And so from June 15th through the end of August, between our YouTube channel and our Roku TV channel, we had over 1 million views. And so,
Woo! Ric Flair.
And so
got a good Ric Flair drop
we had
on
1 million
there.
Views. Some might say, well, it's only 1 million. 1 million views, that's a significant amount of views.
It's 1 million.
Right now across all of our social media on a weekly basis, just social media right now, we're getting over 200,000 views. Right?
Woo!
Our
Deserving.
Our Michigan ranking, ranking stuff, that had 41,000 views on Monday, right? So think about it, 41,000 views of just 4 teams that are ranked. For the 4 rankings for all divisions, had 41,000. Last week, that had 45,000 total views. All right, and so, everything about what we're doing is continuing to pick up. So we're super excited about that, and couldn't be more excited about how things are going. But I wanted to at least, mention that here in our show this morning that this show is averaging right now 2,200 live viewers a day nationwide.
Woo!
So,
Keep them coming.
It's really picking up. So we appreciate you tuning in. Hey, and if you have ideas for this show, where would you want to put those ideas, Ryan or Nate? What do you think?
Where would I want to put the ideas?
Yeah, if you're a viewer and you're like, hey, I want to know more about.
I had a joke there, but not for air. I'll
This
save it
is
for
what
later.
I want you to do. Where would we maybe have people do that?
Do it old school. Have them send in some
Send it
mail
via
and put it in
mail?
a box, and then kind of like your apparel. Like when you open up the box and you can pull out all the pieces of mail of what people want us to do with our show.
Snail mail.
Stop talking about this.
Do an old-fashioned mailbag where we actually have mail in a bag and we just open them all up.
Carry in the mailbag.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter.
Nice. Wonder who it's from.
Boy. I was just thinking maybe
That's
comments
another
in the
good
comment
pull by
section,
you,
but hey,
Ryan.
that works too, guys. I think that's great. So
I didn't know Ryan was a Blues Clues
dive
kid.
Into
Let's
the
go.
U.S. men's national team preview here, leading up this weekend. The U.S. men's national team on the 6th will take on none other than South Korea at 5 p.m. Eastern. That will be actually at it's in New Jersey, right, in Harrison, New Jersey. Sports Illustrated Stadium. Is that the new name of the stadium now? I thought it was MetLife.
Probably.
I think it's
The
MetLife.
names of these places change so much
from when I was putting the graphic together. But MetLife Stadium, I believe, is where this game's taking place on Saturday. Now, looking at this matchup, South Korea is currently ranked 22 in the FIFA rankings, at least as the last looked. Is this a game in which the U.S. men's national team can win? Thoughts, questions?
Well, it is.
I think
Street Stadium.
It is called Sports Illustrated Stadium.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
so
not
I think
MetLife
the
Stadium
naming
anymore, huh?
the naming
not
rights
according to
changed.
AI.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, I believe the naming rights changed on the stadium. I'm pretty sure. The names of these places change so often too. I can't even keep anything straight now. I'll still call stadiums by what they were called 2 different versions ago. So I have I still call the Sox Stadium US Cellular. But anyways, touching on can they win it? I think absolutely they can win it. I think it's, we've talked about this roster coming in, and I think the momentum that, and Ryan, you touched on what the individual players have done in Europe recently. I think that's kind of built the hype and the momentum in these games a little bit more. I think at first when we saw that list, we all kind of looked at it as this seems experimental. This seems like we're still in the stage where Mauricio Pochettino just doesn't know. Not forget who his 11 is, the rest of his team, who his roster is, what his rotations look like, who can you rely on, anything like that. We didn't know that when we first got that list. I think a lot of what we've seen from the international side in Malik Tillman start and Balogun start and Pulisic, the way he's began the season, Josh Sargent, 6 and 5 games, I think is what it was. I mean, it's unbelievable to see what these players are doing in the European theater. Now, what do they do when they join the U.S. men's national team? So it seems, again, it's still at this point, it seems a bit experimental with the roster they have. I do think swinging Zendejas was a huge move for Mauricio Pochettino. That was a big catch for the U.S. men's national team. But how does this hodgepodge of different, again, individually talented players, how do they operate together? That's the biggest question. I think they're both winnable games. I just still think I have some question marks around what specifically to look for in that game. I think one big question mark is, what do they do in goal? What do you have out of Matt Freese and the other two options that you have? Because when I look at it, I think Matt Turner is still one of your top options. He's not there. You have Horvath, who's been playing unbelievable as well. He's not on the team. So what does the goalie situation look like for this squad? I'm also looking at Josh Sargent. I mean, a 6-year drought of not scoring on the international level. He's doing it with his club. I mean, he's dominating with his club, and even he's said, and he's had a few different interviews where he says he wants that to translate to the men's national team. Do we see him kind of flip a switch in these international friendlies ahead of the World Cup? I think that would be a huge help in terms of figuring out at least what that front line looks like. So goalies, I'm looking at Josh Sargent. Obviously, I think Zendejas, swinging him he could have played for the Mexican national team. He didn't. He's playing for the U.S. I think that's amazing. I think the fact that they were able to get him to flip over and play for the United States. So I'm looking to see what we can see out of him. Also, what can we get out of number one, Christian Pulisic? What does he show us in these international friendlies? That's the big question. I think I kind of leave him on the back burner because I think we know what we get out of Christian Pulisic, but does he turn into the Christian Pulisic of AC Milan, or do we see what we saw in Nations League and in all those other major tournaments and those disappointments leading up to where we were with the Gold Cup? So those are my main headline questions that I'm looking at, not only the matchup against Korea, but also the matchup against Japan.
I think it's great points. I think that one, I don't know if, again, I think I'm on the same page with you when it comes to Pulisic. I don't know if I need to see anything specific from him from a statistical standpoint outside of leadership. I think that if this right now is the time, right? With everything that's happened over the last 5 months with Christian Pulisic when it comes to his men's national team, what we need from him right now is to go out there in a leadership role and take that with everything he possibly can. So we need to see that from him. I don't. So we know what he can do with the soccer ball. So I don't have any doubts there. It's now whether or not he can do the other thing that we need him to do. And then more importantly, who's going to be the person that's going to step up in his place if he can't do it? I think those are the things that we want to start seeing right now from this team. I think Josh Sargent, if he is the real deal, his momentum from what he's doing right now in Norwich needs to happen during these games.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question. Because we talked about it yesterday on the show. Is this a for real thing? Is what Josh Sargent is doing right now, is this going to be, the new version of Josh Sargent, or is this the Chris Shelton of baseball like we saw here in Detroit, right? Or is this a one-hit wonder? Or is this what we're seeing from Josh Sargent? Is it the norm? And I think that's a conversation that we can have after this weekend. I think their question is how is Pochettino going to handle this? He's a great coach, right? We know his history. We know what he's been able to do in other places. We've struggled to see what we would consider to be consistency from him in that role. And I'm curious how he handles it this weekend. I'm curious how he handles himself, how he handles these moments, how he handles his reserves, right? When it comes to the goalkeepers, right? I mean, the one thing that sucks about these, and I don't know if these friendlies are treated the same. I think the substitutions are the same. right? I think it's 6 subs, I believe, is what they end up getting in these games. I wish it was almost like a regular scrimmage, right, where you could see unlimited subs almost, or like, hey, you get your goalkeepers get the. I mean, to be fair, do winning these games matter? And at the end of the day, they don't. They do not matter. What matters is whether or not we're competitive and we're able to see players in certain roles who are in that fighting chance. Is it 6? Yeah, so it's 6 subs, which sucks because, how are you going to challenge a goalkeeper who maybe hasn't played an international stage and give them a chance? And as a coach, you are only allowed 6 subs, so you're not going to do that, right? So, but you would like to think that maybe Matt Freese is going to start in game 1, maybe game 2 we're going to see, Calatano or Klinsmann, right? Maybe we'll see one of those 2 hop in, right? That's what you like to think you'd see. But yeah, I don't know if winning, and the reason I asked that question is because I think that we're all, and even Alexi Lawless has talked about this, did it on our platform, on our show, where we are all accustomed to winning in this country. We expect to win. And so every time we lace it up, every time we put on a jersey, we're going to go out there, we should win. And while I agree that we should go out and win against South Korea, and yes, we should go out there and win against Japan, is winning the most important factor. I want to move on, though, to Japan for a second, because we're going to face them on Tuesday at Laura.com Field. Now, that name is not changed, by the way. So, all right,
I like how every name is like
we need to maybe do that. We should, the best named stadium. We should do like a whole series on stadiums. But anyways,
they all
Columbus,
suck
Ohio.
now.
Go ahead, what, Nate?
They said they all suck now, minus the classics. They all suck. It's just whatever company, GoDaddy.com stadium, whatever.
It's a
they
conundrum.
suck.
It's a conundrum. Either way, so 3 days after they face South Korea here, they'll face 15th ranked Japan. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we're ranked 16th. So again, we're playing, 2 top 25 countries in 3 days. And so how is that? How are we going to shape up? And to be fair, I actually think that the game that's more important, not because of who you're playing, is actually the game on Tuesday. Because what's going to happen on Saturday is whether you win, you lose, you draw, how do you respond on Tuesday with just 3 short days in between? That, to me, will be the bigger telltale sign of this weekend. And to be fair, whether or not we should be concerned as a country about this team. And so the rotation, the goalkeeping, all that stuff, what happens come Tuesday? I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that as well.
It's going to be a really quick turnaround. And I think to that degree, it's going to test, again, the depth of this squad, or at least the list of players that they called up. So we're going to see a lot in that game against Korea. But again, the question mark becomes durability. It also becomes availability when you talk about 2 games that quickly. You mentioned the part about always wanting to win. Like, we're accustomed to just winning in this country, and we see it a lot. We see it so much, so that's our expectation every single time. Winning, in my mind, is a sign of progress. But the reason why winning matters to me a little bit more, at least in these 2 instances, and I'll get into that specifically, doesn't really have anything to do with this sense of pride or this overwhelming red, white, and blue. I want to go see the American boys do what they need to do. It has everything to do with you need to prove to the American fan that you can beat a team inside the top 30. I mean, the only way you can really get a true understanding of what the future is going to bring is you have to go backwards. You have to go to the past. When was the last time they faced a team inside the top 30? Again, this is excluding Mexico. Okay, so for whatever reason, if Mexico's been in that top 30, we've had success against them. And we've talked about how this generation of American players has had success beating Mexico. So I'm not talking about them specifically, but the last time we played a team inside the top 30 that was not Mexico was Switzerland. And that was arguably, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest embarrassments of this season when it comes to the U.S. men's national team. I mean, 4-0 loss to Switzerland going into the Gold Cup. So, yeah, we have to prove that we can not just hang with, but beat a top 30 team. So Japan's going to be a real test. I even think South Korea is going to be a real test. I think, Switzerland was 19th in the standings or something like that. So technically Japan's a better team than what Switzerland is. So how do you handle? Can you go out and win those games? I think is really important. But yeah, Poach. I mean, now is the time to hammer it out. We said Gold Cup was, but in hindsight, I think that was more experimental than anything. That felt like a dress rehearsal to the dress rehearsal. What do you have now?
Well, and to be fair, we'd have to look and see what their upcoming schedule is going to look like. But you probably have 5 or 6 more games left before the World Cup. I mean, that's probably it. I mean, you've got these 2, and then 3 or 4, maybe more. You're going to see some games in January. We're probably going to see some games in December. So December, January, and probably again maybe in February. I don't know if we're going to see anything in January, but go ahead.
All I see is after this, they have games in October against Ecuador in Australia. Ecuador, I don't think is in the top 20 or top 30. Another 25, so that'll be a good test.
Well, so we have 4 games as of right now between now and end of October. And then again, I think we're going to see another 2 in December, possibly another 2 in January. So we're talking about just a handful more games to determine whether or not how this team's going to fare up before they get ready to go into the World Cup. And so I think once we had that draw, too, that draw's coming in December. And once that draw happens, then a lot of things are going to be determined, right? And your schedule will be, I think, finalized right after that. But it's a very interesting weekend. I'm curious how this will shape up. We do have a question of the day that we'll obviously get to at the end of the show related to this weekend, so stick around for that. But, before we get ready to go to our next commercial break, anyone got any final thoughts about what this weekend could be and what it means for the U.S. men's national team?
I think it means everything. Yeah. Well, go ahead, Ryan.
All I'll say is make everyone kind of care again. Like, really, like, just show some fight. I know this whole summer was kind of just a whole fiasco that, was kind of unnecessary. Old players digging at the current players digging at the old players. Like, it was just a whole giant mess. And we had a group of guys out on the field that against Mexico couldn't string together 5 passes in the Gold Cup final. And, great, they made a Gold Cup final, but that's kind of the standard anyway. So they kind of did everything that on the field that they should have done, except against Mexico. Like, we played against Guatemala. Like, sweet, we beat Guatemala. Like, it doesn't matter,
Right.
But just make everyone care again. That's what I would say. Everyone show some fight, show some continuity. And if anything, I'm really hoping that Pulisic and those guys are really just pissed off after what just happened, and they kind of come overjuiced a little bit. And I want to see those opening 20 minutes against – we played Japan or Korea first?
We play Korea
first. South Korea.
I want to see those opening 20 minutes. I want to see the boys flying around and just putting pressure on them consistently, grab an early goal, and go from there.
Yeah, I want to see explosiveness. I want to see attacking on the counter. I want to see getting forward. This possession-based play that we played with a lot in the Nations League, and when we had this group around last time and just nothing resulting from it and generating what looked like opportunities but whiffing on every single one, we can't see that. We have to see this team be explosive. We have to see them get forward. We have to see the passion, the fight, all of that stuff. And again, even if you win 1 out of 2 or if you're fine. Competitive in 1, yeah, that's fine. Again, you don't have to run both of them off the field, but show us something. That's what the general American fan is looking for in these 2 upcoming matches.
That they are. You're watching Inside the Game 150. Coming up next, United Soccer Coaches Week 2 Top 25.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game. Jonathan Turner, Nate Wengler, Ryan Glinsky, as we start to get ready to dive in here to the top 25 for both men's and women's college soccer here coming out this week. This is week 2's rankings. We looked at this last week, and this week's a little more in depth because, well, now we're in the second week, and as these teams are starting to kind of shake things up, so are the rankings. And just like we saw with college football this past weekend, some craziness happening all around the college world. It's not unique to that in college soccer. We'll start here when the women's side, and right there at the top, your number 1 and 2, by the way, are the same. And so Stanford and Tennessee have continued on here this week. We've number of changes coming in and out, of the rankings. We'll dive into those. Let's talk about the biggest moves here, the biggest risers, so to speak, here, Ryan, in Division I for the women's side. We'll dive into that here right now on your screen. So biggest riser, Virginia's up from 13. They were tied for 13th. They're now 8th. South Carolina's up from 12 to 10. Memphis up from 15 to 14. They're still unbeaten at 5-0. And then Wake Forest up from 18 to 17. We then take a look here at the next graphic here on your screen. The biggest fallers. Arkansas slid from 8 to 13. They're 1-2-1 start after strong preseason ranking. UCLA is down from 23 to 18 after early losses. And then North Carolina dropped from 22 to 23. Remember, they were the reigning national champions from a year ago in the national championship. So, again, that's a number of strong moves coming here these last couple of days. But let's talk about who's in and out. There's some serious numbers. Well, the men's side is different. Women's side had, I think, 3 teams coming in and out, if I'm not mistaken, Ryan? Maybe 3 or 4? I know the men's side had a ton. You might not put the graphic in, which is fine. It's I can pull it up on my notes here. But you do perfect. So yeah, 3 teams in, 3 teams out. Ohio State enters it tied for 20th. Kansas enters at number 22. Xavier enters at number 24. And then out, Michigan State. They are tied for number 17 last week with Mississippi State. And then Wisconsin. So both MSUs and then Wisconsin. So 2 Big Ten teams out. 1 comes in. But that's a look at your top 25. Anything stand out to you here at all, Nate?
Virginia has been off to an unbelievable start this year. I mean, they've only allowed 1 goal through their 5 games that they've played so far. Outside of that, they've blanked everybody. Beat Xavier 3-0, beat Liberty 2-0, beat Charlotte down 3-0. Started off with a really good game against West Virginia. That was a 1-0 victory. The only goal they've allowed so far was against Georgetown, and that was in a 1-1 tie. And mind you, Georgetown was ranked 16th at the time of that meeting. So looking forward to what's coming up for them on their schedule. They have Penn State. That's a very winnable game. But you look even further along that, you have Duke, right? So you have an ACC non-con meeting. That one's going to tell you a lot about where this Virginia team is and whether or not they're still trending in the right direction. Because when you look at the top 25, and I don't know if there's any way we can put that graphic back up on the screen, there's not a lot of separation at the top of the pack. And that was something that you said, the top 2 teams remain unchanged. You have Duke. You also have TCU in there. And we talked about what that team brings to the table with someone like Seven Castaigne. So the top 4 is pretty much solidified when we look at it from this perspective. But for Virginia, again, your only test against a top 25 team was a 1-1 draw. Now, mind you, that's the only time you've allowed a goal. I think they have one of the strongest defenses in the country. And so to that degree, that will help them out a ton, at least try to crack that top 5. But in my opinion, their first true test of the season is still coming up. They still have Duke in 2 matches from now. So we'll see how they're able to handle that. Stanford, Tennessee, I think are solid in those spots, but my biggest question is, and it's not necessarily who's entering and who's leaving. We'll talk a little bit more about Michigan State. I know we probably got some news coming up on that front here in a little bit. Tough start to the season for the Spartans, but when I look at that top 4, those are really I'm paying attention to because of where they are talent level and where they've been consistently to start this season. I just don't know. Out of those 4, you can literally pick one. Just pick one, and they'll probably make a deep run in the playoffs and maybe go towards the championship. So Virginia, though, is in terms of the risers in the rankings. We talk about who's in, who's out, who's rising, who's not. Virginia is on that list for me. They've been so stout defensively. They've been very good in goal. They just couldn't finish off their opportunity against Georgetown. That was a game that saw a lot of set pieces, a lot of really dynamite opportunities in the second half for them to jump ahead. They just weren't able to get it done. But they're going to get really tested here coming up against Duke, 2 matchups from now. So if you want to stay in the top 10, you have to show a good fight in that matchup, maybe come out on top. But the biggest tests are still on the horizon for that team, but they have a lot of potential, especially on that defensive side.
That they do. We will now look at the men's side here for Division I, top 25. They're at the top, Stanford. So think about that, right? Both men and women have the number 1 teams in the country, according to the United Soccer Coaches Association. Number 2, you've got Marshall, Clemson, Indiana, NC State, West Virginia, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Vermont, and Pittsburgh, all there in the top 10. Stanford jumped for number 4 last week, by the way. They had 8 first-place votes to number 1 after a perfect 4-0 start. Marshall climbed from number 2. They climbed up. They were still at number 2. The biggest one here, Vermont, they slid from 1 to number 9. Right, again, this is Vermont is the team that won it last year. Again, talk about how great they were. They obviously won the USL2 national championship as well with a big chunk of their squad. Indiana rose from 7 to 4. NC State climbed from 8 to 5. We talked about that. Donovan Phillip had a hat trick this past week. I think they say it was the quickest hat trick in history, is what I was told possibly might be the case. So he's off to a great start this week as well. Wake Forest fell from 5 to 7. Virginia Tech rose from 12 to number 8. Pittsburgh dropped from number 3 to number 10. Take a look here at the biggest risers. Greensboro is up from 23 to 12. Gardner-Webb surged from number 20 to number 13. Memphis is up. I think that's right. Memphis up from 15 to 14. I think it might be the wrong graphic.
Oh.
It might be the women's side.
Oh, here we go.
My bad, dude. It's all right. There you go. Akron from number 16 to number 11. St. Louis is at number 16 after a strong 2-1 start. And then Utah Valley New at number 18, 4-0. Again, Vermont down to number 1 to number 9. Pittsburgh down from 3. Duke slid from number 9 to 14. And High Point from number 13 to number 15. When we talk about who's new and who's coming in here, this is what I mentioned. There's I think 9 new teams. 8 new teams: St. Louis, Utah Valley, UMass, Penn, South Florida, George Mason, Portland, and Michigan. Michigan in at number 25. So on the women's side, Michigan State steps out. On the men's side, Michigan steps in. Right? They just had a good victory here earlier this week over Creighton, I believe. Oregon State at number 11. Georgetown, Providence, Charlotte, Missouri State, Denver, Louisville, Maryland, all bounced out of the top 25. And so those are your top 25 for both men's and women's. The biggest shocker, Nate, in regards to the men's side. The biggest
Brian,
shocker so
you got
far
that.
for you.
You got that sound effect, right? Queued up. The
Yeah,
play
I can do it whenever you're ready.
Play it. Yeah, press the button. Press the button. Go. Do it. JT, you and I, good predictions coming into the men's side on the NCAA. I have to pat ourselves on the back first, okay? What did I bang the drum about coming into the season? Because I was so mad they weren't ranked in the top 10. I thought it was a disservice, okay? Indiana rising as far as they have. Palmer Alt has been on one. Congratulations. We predicted that here on the National Soccer Network. This kid went from Butler to Indiana, came back to college to play after obviously getting picked up in that MLS Super Draft, and he has been super to begin this 2025 season. 4 goals to lead that Indiana team. Just talking about, they had their headliners. So I thought Indiana was in a really good spot, not only to cement themselves as a top 10 team, but again, potentially make a deep run. They've been a big riser. So we've seen that come to fruition, and I think they're going to continue to succeed even into Big Ten play, even as the Big Ten continues to get better. Shout out Michigan, by the way, making in the top 25. Love it. But on the other side for you, all right, I got to give you your kudos at the same exact time as well. Donovan Phillip, your prediction on whether that NC State team, again, they were picked middle of the pack in the ACC. Middle of the pack, they were picked to finish. They were not picked to finish towards the top, but you go, and you said the same exact reasons that I did, is if you have your headliner, you really have a chance to make some noise. And boy, do they have their headliner in Donovan Phillip. I mean, a hat trick, 4 total goals. Woo! For that NC State team. It is unbelievable to see what he's doing up front, and clearly they have the one thing that you need on your side in order to put together a really, really successful season and maybe go get yourself some hardware, and that's momentum. So your prediction was NC State could make a run and be a dark horse. Great selection on your end, and my prediction was obviously that Indiana deserved to not only be in that top 10, but in that top 5, simply because they got Palmer Alt, yes, but they've also returned a lot of players, and they're a deep squad as well. So there we go. I just wanted to pat ourselves on the back. Well, that's all.
I think
who's your daddy?
Is always good. I mean, Ryan. I mean, he named his prediction in game 1, like night 1, for the right score.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Give yourself a pat in the back for that, my guy. That's never happened before. Where you predict the winner and the score.
That was the Vermont Green. Who'd they play in the finals?
Oh, they played against Ballard.
Ballard, yeah, I predicted it. I said 2-1 Vermont, and all of a sudden, there's a minute to go in the game, and I went, "Oh my God, I didn't even realize this might actually happen." I predicted everything right.
He had the shots on goal right.
Did he get anything for it?
Right, he had fouls.
JT gets I told him, and he noticed it, and he was so ticked. He just walked out.
I walked out.
He was like, "I can't believe you got it right first time. I'm gonna give a horn for myself."
Oh, wait,
I think you fixed the match. I think that's what happened. I think you paid someone to make that happen.
Real quick, Donovan Phillip has 4 goals so far through his, I believe he's gotten, how many games played? 3 games. So, which is impressive. He had a hat trick against Wilford. He scored a goal against Queens in North Carolina here. In that first game of the season. So, again, off to a really good start. We'll continue to keep an eye on NC State. Their team, again, when you have a player like Phillip on your team, a lot of things can go well, just like with Palmer Alt and Indiana. And, I mean, obviously, Indiana, historically, one of the best men's college programs in the country. And so, the fact that they're having success is not uncommon for them. The fact that they have Palmer Alt only makes them that much better. But that is your top 25 here, according to the United Soccer Coaches. You can check out those rankings on our website, thenationalsoccernetwork.com, as well as a nice story about what happened with these week's rankings compared to last week. So coming up here, Mailbag Wednesday. We're going to dive into some of your comments and questions, or whatever you want to call it, from our TikTok and Instagram as well as YouTube. So stay tuned as we be back here, episode 150 of Inside the Game.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs. From high-quality production to exceptional coverage, we ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today. Call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game. We showed this look of our studio yesterday, but why don't we show it again? Hit on that number 2 there.
The bird's eye?
Woo! Dude, I've hit it so many times today. It's so awesome.
This is just a light.
Do you have any other noises on that board?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right, there we go.
That might be better.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's a long. That's a long.
All right, okay,
one.
that's all right now. All right, sit down. Sit down. Show start. Sit down.
Our goal is to add in 2 more cameras. We'll figure that out though, because I still have 2 more slots to slide cameras into. So we're gonna definitely try and do that. But with that being said, it is Mailbag Wednesday. We are gonna dive into some questions and some comments, and so let's go ahead, Ryan. What's our first question?
So this is all coming from the MLS has found its supervillain in Inter Miami. Great TikTok, by the way. Created a lot of buzz. So Carter Moles on TikTok says, and it's not just the way Miami acts. It's the way that the rules are constantly bent or skirted to allow Miami to do things with rosters that nobody else is allowed to do.
I mean, I don't know how much I can speak on roster movement, JT. I mean, that's something that I'm not. Maybe it comes down to the money thing. Maybe it comes to how much they've poured into getting someone like Messi and Luis Suarez to be a part of this team. The MLS has certainly prioritized Inter Miami a lot in that way. I mean, they're almost kind of, again, that's part of being the golden child. Like, they're trying to build this team into almost like the superstar team, the what do they call them? Back when LeBron joined the Heat once upon a time, super teams. Yeah, you're trying to turn it into a super team. So I can see that. I mean, I can certainly see that from the MLS, and that they're just trying to build Miami into exactly that, because they realize that sells tickets. I mean, wherever they go, it's kind of like you see in these other leagues that there are certain teams that if they travel to a city, that place is going to sell out, simply because that team is in town. Like, there were years there where, like, the Pistons were the Pistons. No one would go watch a game unless LeBron was in town. If LeBron was in town, then you went, at least in the hope that he wasn't going to take a load management night, which I ran into that once upon a time myself. But you understand that wherever they go, that's where the story follows. So I can see why the MLS wanted to do that. But yes, absolutely. I think they've prioritized wanting to build that into a super team because, again, they realize it sells. And it's the MLS is a business at the end of the day. They need to make their money. And so you're trying to build up stars in your league. But my entire point with that video was, build up stars, but it's also nice to have a supervillain at the same exact time, because that actually creates the story. Yeah, stars are one thing. Villains is what makes a good book, a good story, a good movie. So, yeah, I can definitely see that, though.
Here it lies in the problem, right? And it's across every league. So this is not a unique thing, as we were just talking to in regards to the MLS, right? The leagues are trying to create buzz.
Yeah.
Right? And we've already talked about how the MLS has done a terrible job of marketing its players. We've already talked about that.
Yeah.
And so if I walk into, and I was just I talked about this yesterday. We were at Great Lakes Crossing on Monday doing some last minute shopping for the school year for the kids, and I went into the Adidas store, and there's jerseys in the Adidas store. The only jersey that you could buy in that store was the black and the pink version of Inter Miami's Messi jersey. Those are the only jerseys they sell in the entire store, by the way. This is a Nike outlet store, right? So if you're going to sit here and tell me that the MLS isn't acutely aware of who their superstars are and what team their superstars happen to be on, then you're not paying attention.
Money.
And so whether you want to call them supervillains or not, it's more like, and my son says this all the time because my son, he's our middle child and he's also the boy. I've got my oldest, who Brianna. I've got the youngest, who's Zoe, and Zoe gets away with everything. Brianna doesn't do anything wrong, and Nathan's always in trouble. It's like,
that's how 3 kids that
Inter
work.
Miami is
how it
the
goes.
baby. It's like never gonna get in trouble. But you know what? Colorado, you're Nathan. Colorado, New York, you're. I mean, unfortunately, that's how it's gonna be. And so I think that supervillain's probably the wrong way to put it. I just think like maybe it's like favorite, or.
Which creates a supervillain.
Which it does.
I mean,
right?
everyone hates OKC.
I think fan bases as a whole, dislike a lot of different things. But I think that the soccer, maybe the fly-by-night soccer, the Walmart fan, as they call them, right? I think they don't subscribe to that. maybe the same way that the local, like Columbus Crew, right? They don't like Inter Miami because it's Inter Miami. This is Columbus. But I think the average soccer fan, I think they're completely enthralled by it. I think that this is great. You know what I mean? Like, it gets them motivated to go watch a game. You know, like the same person that's going to go watch Inter Miami because of Messi. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's a really cool thing. I think that's great. And hey, I'm glad that. I just wish it wasn't because of Luis Suarez throwing, spitting at people at the post game. But that's a whole other conversation. What else you got, Ryan?
Yeah, there's another TikTok I believe Nate did. They ate this one up. They say that this guy Tony Ant said that his history matters, meaning Luis Suarez. You should be out the remainder of the season and the playoffs.
I said this yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned this yesterday. I think he should be banned. I think that at the minimum he shouldn't play another game this season. And to be fair, I think he shouldn't play MLS ever again. You spit at a player or a coach post game. In the manner in which he did, you should be done. Now, granted, we know that that's not what the league's probably not going to do. They're going to probably do a 6-game suspension, or 3 to 6 games is probably what they're thinking this is going to happen here. I still think that that's bullshit, but I don't think he should be playing soccer ever again in the MLS. That's my perspective. That's not going to change because it's just terrible what he did.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I disagree. I think he definitely deserves whatever is coming to him. Again, I don't. You hate to see it. I do think it is worth mentioning because people have been freaking out about that. It was a brush up, guys. No one got seriously hurt. Like, I mean, that was on par with any bench clearing I've ever seen where people just kind of shove each other and push each other over. Like, at the end of the day, it's not great, and especially spitting on someone. Like, that's taking it way too far. So whatever's coming to him, listen, it's what's coming to him. Do I love it? I'd love to see him back out in the field because I think that builds intrigue, and I think people will be interested to see that. But, yeah, I mean,
Real
you did it to yourself. You dug your own hole.
Ryan goes any further, a comment coming in on TikTok right now. So last night, my alma mater played against Royal Oak High School in the OAA. And Athens, which is ranked number 4 in the state, I believe, lost last night 2-0 at home to Royal Oak High School. And someone in the comments
Troy Athens lost 2-0?
Yeah, Troy Athens. No, go, don't you? Oh, no, you don't. No, you can't do it. No way.
Nice.
No. But yes, Royal Oak last night did beat my alma mater by a score of 2-0, and so yes,
Yeah, for all the people that don't know, I have beef with Troy Athens. They ended my high school career back in 2020. So. No.
Where's the clapping button? Where's the clap? There it is. Yes. Good job, Athens. Good job.
Yeah. But everyone is basically saying that he should be suspended for many years. Or where's the one with Busquets? Yeah, so this user 69924 said MLS needs to suspend Suarez for the rest of the season. Busquets should be suspended for 4 games. I don't care that this was tournament and not MLS game. MLS needs to make it clear that this behavior will not be tolerated by MLS teams. And I forgot the user that said it, but he said MLS is the villain, not Suarez. And Inter Miami.
Okay.
You make your own bet, I guess, if that's his point.
Huh?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of make your own bed, I guess, if that's the, make your own bed, you sleep in it for the MLS. I mean, I guess if you allow, someone like this to continue to act like that, then yeah, I suppose. But I don't know if I'd necessarily blame the MLS for Luis Suarez making his own adult grown man decision
especially
in that
after
moment.
the fact that this is like his first time doing it. I mean,
yeah.
We all know
there's a track record here. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he'll take
Biting
a bite out of
people.
anything, right? I mean, so
Pulling Mike Tyson's out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then probably one more on the Luis Suarez topic. This is from user 9262 says, fire him, put him in jail for life, and fine him millions and millions of dollars. But the system is so corrupt, they will do nothing.
Well, I think it's funny. That's the most absurd comment I've heard. Throw him in jail for life.
I wouldn't go that far, but he should be fine for sure.
Death by firing squad. That's what I'm thinking. No,
wow.
I mean, if we
gracious, guys.
If we go on the history of Luis Suarez, it's bad. So in my entire life, ever since I've watched soccer, Luis Suarez has been a part of controversy about every 2 to 4 years. 2010 World Cup, he had that handball against Ghana. Net was wide open. Quarterfinals of the World Cup. Net was wide open, puts his hand up, gets a handball. Ghana misses that PK. Suarez gets sent off. And then he celebrates in the tunnel because he, watched it from the tunnel. That's where, all the hate for Suarez happened. And then he would not shake Patrice Evra's hand in the Man United Liverpool game. And then he bit someone at Ajax before 2010. I forgot that guy's name. Then he bit Ivanovic from Chelsea. Then he bit Chiellini in the 2014 World Cup. And then this, I don't think I'm forgetting anything. But you just kind of see.
Like I said, he'll take a bite out of anything. And clearly, he doesn't. It must be a delicacy in Ecuador.
But you get the point. You get the
just
point.
bite people.
He just continues to do something bad every 2 to 4 years. And his leash just continues to be long.
It would be awesome.
Yeah,
though,
so
if
there's
you
a
could make
president
video
here.
of him just taking some salt and pepper and then taking on the ear or on the arm.
Man.
Sorry, it's so.
Well, no wonder why he's been so good for so long. No one wants to come near him because they kind of know what happens if you come too close. He's going to take a chunk out of your ear or something along those lines.
Or if we talked, I think we've talked about this in previous shows, and if we haven't, I've talked about it on broadcast. But if you're a coach and you're talking to your players, you want as much as you want to play against the best players, you want those players off the field. And obviously, there's ways that would get under their skin. If you know a player has a short temper, you're going to go in there and you're going to get in there on their heels. You're going to be a little bush league on it, a little beer league on them, and get them to come off their composure. And now they're going to get a yellow card. Now they're going to get a red card, right? Players on a yellow already. What are you going to do? You're going to go in there and you're going to create more havoc, and hopefully that player does something stupid. And now they're off the field. And so if Luis Suarez is a loose cannon, you're going to be sending players in there all the time. You might send them in there with leather on their arms so they don't get bit through there and lose some skin. But you're going to do anything you can to get them off the field. And so I don't blame teams for trying to do that. Obviously, you blame Luis Suarez for not having the composure to keep his cannibalism in check. I just
can't help
don't
it,
get
man.
it, man. Of all
Can't
the
help
things,
it.
why not just punch somebody? Why are you biting them? It just
Punch,
doesn't
slap,
make any sense.
He just starts throwing
Little
haymakers
tap.
after haymakers.
Whatever.
Actually, at least I can get behind that. Okay, I lose my cool. I punch somebody, but go to to take someone else's arm or their ear. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense.
Man, it's
Anyways,
crazy.
what's up with our question of the day?
Forgot I had my mic muted. But
There
before
you
we get to
go.
the question of the day, Salt Athletic is an official sponsor of NSN. Make sure you use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off any of your orders. Also visit saltathletic.com or scan that QR code today. But question of the day. Question of the day. If the U.S. men's national team loses their friendlies, should we hit the panic button on the U.S. men's national team?
Go ahead, Nate.
It depends. Like I said, I would like to win 1 out of 2. That is where I want to be. But do you look competitive? Do you check off the boxes that we want to see? Like I said earlier, I think I kind of answered this question maybe in that first segment. Maybe I didn't, but we need to see the explosiveness. We need to see this team get forward. We need to see them turn possessions into goals. We need to see them execute. I want to see Christian Pulisic be Christian Pulisic. I want to see Josh Sargent translate what he's done to begin the year with his club to the national team. A lot of different things that I want to see. Now, if we get embarrassed or if we get shut out in either or both of them, or if we just don't put up a fight, that's a far different story. Then I think we're on this podcast again, and we're on the other side of the aisle where we're talking about being in a state of not doing all that well, of almost disarray, I think was the word we used once upon a time, especially after the Switzerland game. Do you need to dominate both matches? No. But I think winning 1 out of 2 of them and at least showing some good fight and bringing those games down to the wire, I think is going to do a lot to at least show American fans that there is a sliver of hope heading into the 26 World Cup.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. I think there's a lot of reasons to hit the panic button. I think we could hit the panic button right now if we wanted to.
Do we have a panic button on the board?
No, I don't know what even a panic button would even sound like. Would it?
I don't know. Screaming?
Probably like an alarm of some sort.
Yeah, maybe
Get out.
the alarm, like the radar alarm, right, for your phone.
Any alarm, because that gives everyone PTSD.
I know, right? So, but my perspective on this is that I don't know if we need to worry about winning games as we do about again the things that are the most important, right? Making sure that we are putting the best 11 on the field. It gives us the best chance to win. And again, maybe that might not be right now. Maybe that's us learning who the best 11 are going to be, right? We know there are players that are still missing from this lineup. Our goalkeeping is still a big question mark, right? So for us, who's our goalkeeper? If it's Matt Freese, should Matt Freese play in every game from now until the World Cup? If it's Matt Turner, who's on this roster, he's obviously still kind of banged up a little bit. He's not on the roster. So who is our goalkeeper? That, to be fair, has been the thing that has been a staple for us for the longest time when it comes to the U.S. men's national team. And for the first time in a very long time, we do not have a goalkeeper that we can say that is our goalkeeper. And that is of deep concern to me as a fan of this game. Again, leadership. What do I see from Pulisic? What do I see from other players who are going to step up in these moments to show us that they're capable of stepping into those roles and, more importantly, being successful in those roles? And whether that means a stat or not, seeing players stepping in and holding their own are things that I'm looking for. So, if they lose both of these games and they lose so in embarrassing way, I would say absolutely hit the panic button. But if they lose these games because we're trying out players and positions and we're testing things, I'm not opposed to that. Right, I'm not opposed to us losing. And if it's 2-1, it's 1-0, it's a draw, like those things don't matter. What matters for me is getting through these next two games and then what leads up to us in October. Because in October, we're going to be a couple more games closer, and then that's when we can start to say, hey, you know what? That's when the panic button can be hit. But that's my take on should we panic or not. I think we can hit the panic button right now, to be fair. But I don't know if what happens this weekend will be utterly panic unless it is a blowout or embarrassing.
I think that what we have to do is we have to establish the bar for what we want this USA team to do in the World Cup. Is our goal to just get out of the group, make the round of 16, get knocked out, or is our goal semis, quarterfinals? If our goal is just the round of 16, I don't think these games necessarily, if we lose them, we shouldn't hit the panic button because you're not going to be playing a top 20 team 2 times in the group stage. You're just not. You're going to play one, but you're not going to play 2 of them. But if our goal is quarterfinals, semifinals, then if they lose them, we should absolutely panic. I'm really not here for let's experiment right now. We have 6 games because I believe there's a camp in November. But I don't think those games are announced yet, so I don't really know when they are. But I'm going to say if they lose both of these games, I don't want to experiment with players. I want to start building this continuity now. I need the cohesiveness now. That's why I thought the Gold Cup, if we played our big guys and they were able to cohesively play and they lost to Mexico in the Gold Cup final, but it all looked fine, like it wouldn't have mattered. But we missed those, 5 or 6 games that they played in the Gold Cup. We missed those opportunities to build that bond with everyone. If they lose these 2 games, and I'm saying they lose them like 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, something like that, absolutely hit that panic button. Because we only have, our games are numbered. We have less than 7 or 8 games before this World Cup, and we are hosting this World Cup. I'm not trying to get embarrassed on home soil in front of the whole world. And the whole world is just waiting for an American team
downfall
at some of the highest levels to just mess up and make a mistake. That's what they're waiting for. I'm not here to get embarrassed in front of millions and sometimes billions of people on the national stage.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, before I think we even said this is that obviously losing in embarrassing fashion is not the way we want to go. Again, if it's a 2-1 game, it's 1-1. Again, if the goal is to get ready for the World Cup and we need to see players, that means that you're gonna maybe not play in fair. You're not gonna be fair as well as you would if you had your best players in the field. So I expect there to be a curve. But for me, it's again about those things we already talked about, and I'm excited to see how this will shape up. I know we were talking about this yesterday, Nate. You're excited this game should be tomorrow. It'd be great, but unfortunately, it's on Saturday. But we'll obviously have more coverage of these games here as we lead up to the weekend. Tomorrow on the show, Nate and I had talked about last week. We were doing the U.S. Men's National U.S. Soccer Week, and we didn't get a chance to do our 25. Sorry, I'm not sorry, 25. Our starting 11, who we project to start in the World Cup here in 2026. Tomorrow, we start that process. So join us tomorrow as we dive into the U.S. Men's National Team starting 11, who we project to start in the World Cup here in 2026. And I think it's a good thing for us to talk about tomorrow, especially going into this weekend, because we know there are certain players who could potentially start who are not on this roster right now. But I also think it's a good practice for us to try this out and see what it looks like, and maybe even revisit it here in a month or in 2 months as we get closer to the World Cup. But that is 150 in the books. Any final thoughts here before we wrap this thing up, guys?
I'm jacked. I'm excited for Saturday. Seriously, I'm so serious. I wanted to be here. And I know that we got, that's going to be a great day in general. We got college football. We got the U.S. Men's National Team back. I mean, that writes all the storylines for us the following week when it comes to this show. We got a lot of fun stuff to cover. So I'm excited to see this team. I'm excited to see Pulisic back. Let's get to work. Let's see what this team has, and I'm just hoping they put up a couple of great performances because I'm ready to just see some life in this squad. I think it's about time.
Me as well. Well, that'll wrap up number 150 here today on the National Soccer Network. We'll be back here tomorrow morning, same time, same place. That's Nate Wengler, Ryan Glinsky. I'm Jonathan Turner. See you all tomorrow, and have a great rest of your day. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wengler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.